So to compare with the first thing that was used by the ancestor that went into Luzon Park. So ito is palace stone tools. Okay? And they even live by fishing and planting. And since they went here, they mingled with some of our ancestors and even just stayed here for the rest of their lives. Okay? Possible yun. Kaya nga, di ba, look at the Indonesia. It looks like really Filipino people, but the moment they open their mouth, because their language is different from us, that's the time that you're going to this thing is, I thought it's Filipino, but it's not, okay? So sila kamukha-kamukha natin mga Indonesian people. And then that's for the first wave. You have also the second wave. The second wave of Indonesians, they first settled in Papua New Guinea and married black men before they migrated in the Philippines. So say, they had to come here having the boat itself. But this time, sabi nga nila, it's very much different from the first wave. Although mas magaling sila, but they had dark skin and sturdy bodies. Okay? Mas matitipon sila kumbaga sa unang wave ng Indonesia. And then, they were superior because they introduced the boat building, bark and animal skin cloth making, pottery making, planting, cooking, and even fire making techniques. So try to imagine, noong 25,000 BC, sa kanong first wave of Indonesian, possible cause wala pang damit ng mga tao nun. But this time, itong second wave of Indonesian, first they introduced the boat building and even the animal skin cloth making. And of course, one good thing, yung cooking and fire making techniques. So yung mga tao no, natuto na maggumawa ng apoy, pag naginiginaw, gumawa ng apoy para lutuin yung pagkain nila. Okay? So that's why they are better. Okay. So try to imagine, napakalayo na, 200 BC na. To compare with the previous one na 25,000 BC, saka 1,000 BC, and so on and so forth. So the Malays came in three waves. First wave from Borneo and settled the mountains areas of Luzon. So ito naman, ibang lahi na naman to. And this time, what they offered? Pagan beliefs and even brought religious song. And they became also the ancestors of the Grots, Tinggians, and even Bontok. So these are the different tribes, indigenous people from Cordillera region. Okay? Meron pa mga yan, hanggang class, meron pa mga ganyang tribes, or what we call indigenous people. Okay? The natives from that place. Then next, second wave naman, so another batch to ng Malays. They came also by ship. They brought with them their language, their alphabets, folktales, and origin myths. And this one class, between 200 BC to 1000 AD, and that's what we call Iron Age. So they introduced animist religion. Kanina introduced paganism, yung sa first wave of Malays. But this time, sa second waves of Malays, they introduced na the animist religion and even the jar burial. Okay? And even the accessories, they showed it even introduced to our ancestors here. The beads, the pendants, the bangles, stones, and even shells were developed, okay, as accessories. And even the body tattooing, filling, and blackening of teeth, and then rapid gold were observed. So the more tattoo that you have before, the better, because it means you are brave. And mind you, not only the men who are having the tattoo, even the ladies, even the female, as early as age of 15, 16, that's the one that I had watched. So she was asked by her mother to have a body tattoo because without the body tattoo, she's not beautiful. And she will not be getting married if she doesn't have that kind of tattoo. Although she wants to refuse, but she can't. Okay? And the more feeling of the more your teeth is black, then rapid gold, the better because you are rich and you are more beautiful. So ganun yung mga ano nila noon, pagkakaintindi nila sa ganyan, sa mga palamuti sa katawan nila. And again, the body tattooing, it's for the rest of their lives, hindi na nabubura yun. Then the second who migrated in our country are the Chinese. This is what we call now the porcelain age, 1000 AD to 1200 AD. So they settled different parts of the archipelago. And of course, since they are Chinese, they started now to trade with the different countries around the world. And from them, we got the culture about close family ties, respect for the elders, and some of the Chinese vocabulary, trading itself, and even the religious beliefs. So we all know when we say Chinese religion, that is Buddhism, okay? And after that, the Indies, from 1200 to 1500 AD, they are from Borneo and brought Buddhism. So Buddhism pa rin dinala nila. Then another wave of Indies came also. They are from Java and Borneo. Then even have the given here or influenced the Hindu Empire of Majapahit, but that's no longer existing class. Wala na yun. Pero when we say Hinduism, that's really the religion of the Indian people, those who are from India. And when we say Hinduism, it's about respecting all those things that has life. Kahit bulati lang yung class, may respeto nila yan kasi may buhay. Kahit ipis lang yan, nila pinapatay kasi nga may buhay. Okay? And what they gave are their religion, epics, folks, songs, and even lyric poems. Okay? And last but not the least, settlers. And not invader, those who migrated in our country are the Arabs and Persian. That was during 1300 to 1400 AD, and they propagate their Islam faith in the southern part of the Philippines. Kaya di ba class, ang nasa Mindanao, mga Muslim, majority. Meron din mga non-Muslim doon, mga indigenous people na hindi naman sila Muslim. But of course, majority, particularly in the ARMM, or what we call now the BARMM, the BARM, because during that time, they are already became Muslim and practice, of course, the Islam faith. And during 1450, the Muslim Sultanate of Palawan studies in the islands between Borneo and Mindanao. And say in 1475, 25 years passed, Muslim Sultanate of Maguindanao was founded in Mindanao. And Islam spread throughout the archipelago. So yung class ang pinapagmalaki naman ng mga Muslim people. Kasi nga, we were not yet discovered by Magellan. We were not even having our own name as a country. And we were not yet even Christian or became Catholic. But they were already there. Andito na sila noon. Okay? Muslim na sila. Islam na religion nila. Kaya nga, di ba, yung sa ARMM, forest, talagang pinapaglaban nila yun na maging autonomous ang kanilang region, and it really happened. Tapos ngayon, naging BARMM. Kung pwede nga lang class na tawag dito, pasakop sana sila sa part ng Muslim country like the Indonesia, kasi andyan sa pinakamaraming Muslim. Kung tayo 100,000, sila 300,000. Majority are Muslim people. Okay? So, kaya nga, pero hindi naman gano'n. Kaya ang ginawa, they're still part of the Philippines, and they still have to follow the law in the Philippines. Okay? But again, they are autonomous region. Isa lang autonomous region natin, sila lang. Hindi kasama yung CAR. Kasi CAR is administrative. Okay? And that's why we have a lot of Muslim people here. So kapatid din natin sila. Hindi man sila Kristiyano, but we really respect them. Okay? So to continue. So sila yung last na settlers in our country. So to the recap, so majority of our early settlers came from the neighboring countries, and they all really settled in the different parts of the archipelago. And what they brought, their epics, their origin myths, their fables, folktales, proverbs, and a lot more. And let me remind you, all of these literatures were just orally transmitted. from one generation to another. There were no books that were given here or brought here, class. Walang reading materials. Lahat yan, sinabi lang. Kwento, sinabi, kinanta, etc., etc. At nalaman ng mga ancestors natin. And they really accepted it. Okay? Punta na tayo sa mga invaders. The first one, the Spaniards came, and the following changes occurred. So that was during 1521. That's why, class, sa mga Catholic, di ba, we will be having a big celebration, 500 year celebration ng being Catholic sa mga Katoliko. That will be to be celebrated next year. Sana nga wala ng pandemic para ma-celebrate talaga ng mga Katoliko. Okay? So, one of the changes, yung alibata brought by the Malays was replaced by Roman alphabet. I don't know if all of you are familiar with the alibata. Sino nakakaalam? Ano itsura nito? If you want to answer, just unmute yourself. Wala nakakaalam? Imposible. Anyone who knows it? What's the idea? What is alibata? How does it look?
Is it same as baybayin po ba, ma'am?
Yes, it's the same as baybayin. Kasi pag sabi mong baybayin, it's spelling, di ba? Sa Tagalog, baybayin, spelling yon. Kaya ang alibata and baybayin are almost the same. So, depende lang sa pagkakasulat ng tao. Okay? Kung medyo humaba yung stroke niya, baka naiba yung ano, naiba na yung meaning nun. Same with the alphabet, di ba? Kagaya natin, we are using the same letter, the alphabet itself, but depende sa nagsusulat. Yung iba, napakaganda ng sulat. Yung iba, hindi maintindihan ng sulat. Kaya mga doktor na yan, di ba? Pero pag engineers, nagaganda ng sulat na mga yan. Di ba? Talagang parang asin, walang linya, pero napaka-refine ng pagkakasulat. I have one of my psychology students before. She's a very beautiful lady. Graduate na siya. 5 years ago na siguro. Napakagandang babae, tapos ang ganda ng sulat niya. Walang line na, pero pantay na pantay talaga. Kaya pag binabasa ko yung essay niya, everything that she passed, I really admire her writings. Kasi bukod sa maganda nilalaman, napakaganda talaga ng sulat. Okay? So, depende sa sulat niya. Kaya again the alibata and even the baybayin are just the same. So, depende lang sa mga susulat. And one of the, how do you call this, reporters of ABS-CBN, si Shara Zambrano, yeah. I had watched one of her documentary film. I had observed that she is writing using alibata. Sabi ko, wow, ang galing naman itong babaeng to. Siya yung reporter na lagi pinapadala sa Mindanao sa mga gera-gera. Para siyang as in, strike anywhere. Pero lalo na pag ando sa mga gera siya pinapadala. Very brave yung babae yun. And I really admire her using the alibata or the baybayin in writing her report. O di ba nakakatawa pagka ganun? Could be some of you are also using, may marunong ba sa inyo magsulat ng yung Korean alphabet? Kasi nakita ko sa mga ibang estudyante, they're really trying their best to write, to know, to understand the Korean words, terms, and even the alphabet, how to write it. Okay? Ako medyo marunong ako ng natuto ako ng Chinese. Ano sa Chinese? Mandarin, okay?
Calligraphy po.
Marunong ako ng Mandarin, tinuruan kami ng gano'n. Pero syempre, pag di mo nagpa-practice, nakakalimutan mo talaga. So that's the problem with it. So dapat talaga keep on practicing and using it para hindi makalimutan. And another changes that happened, it is printing of books started during the time of the Spaniards. The first book was the Trina Christiana. It's the Bible itself, okay? And one good thing that they do also, so they made vocabulary books taken from the different dialects that has a translation in Tagalog. Hindi pa Filipino ang tawag na Tagalog pa lang. And some of the old literatures brought by the first settlers were collected, and some of these were transcribed and translated in Tagalog. Some of the examples are these: Sa mga kanta na lang class, like for example, yun sa Bicol, the Sarong Banggi, it is translated that isang gabi, maliwanag, kabisado. So yun, di ba? So isa yun sa mga ginawa. Same with other songs, yung sa Ilocano, yung Pamulinawin, yung sa Kapampangan at Ikapong Singsing, yung sa Bisaya, yung Ili-Ili, Tulog Nanay, it's a lullaby song. Okay? So maraming ganyan. At least they were not neglected, but they were collected and even made transcription and translated into Tagalog para maintindihan ng lahat. Okay? So the origin myth, songs, corridor, moro-moro, sinakula, sarsuela, and a lot more. It adds to the rich collection of Philippine literature. Yung sinakulo class, ginagawa talaga yan ng mga Catholic na yung gusto nila to show that they are really saying sorry to the sins that they had committed, di ba? Pero ngayon, kasi pandemic tayo ngayon, walang nagsinakulo, walang nagpenitensya. Pero yan, very famous yan, particularly in Pampanga, yung mga nagpapapako sa krus, na panata nila yon. Kasi nga, pasalamat lang kay Lord na yung kanilang hiniling ay, Sophia, stop that, okay? Yung hiniling nila natupad. Kung ayaw makinig, get out of my class, okay? Kung nainis ka, kung ayaw mo yung dinidiscuss ko, again, this is a free country class. If you want to go out, if you're not interested with the thing that I'm discussing, just drop my subject. Okay? I'm informing you. Gusto ko lang sabihin na I started my class from 7:30 to 12 and I started again from 1:30 up to 9 p.m. Kaya wag niyo akong galitin. Akala niyo naman hindi ko makikita yung ginagawa niyo. Do I need to continue this? O baka lang kayo magbasa na lang? You turn on your camera, please. Valentino, wala kang video? I want to see your faces. Okay, so let me continue now. So we have here also, the Spanish language became the medium of written literature during the period. That's why our own national hero was being said, but that's not really official according to some. His works are written in Spanish and not in English or Filipino. Okay? And a number of Spanish words are now included in Filipino language and including our own surnames. Okay? So, di ba, that's why our surname are like Sanchez, Santos, Cruz, de la Cruz. They are all Spanish surnames because we adopted it from during the Spanish time or era. And some of the words that are already included in our language, like the Mesa, Celia, Calle, and a lot more. Kasi the Calle before, when it is spelled out, it is Calle. Hindi yung Calle na spelling natin ngayon, okay? So that's why there are a lot of changes that happened during the Spanish period, and one of the changes, we became Christian, particularly Catholic, okay? So yun ang pinamana sa atin because they were here for 300 years. Okay, next invader. So these are the American. That was during 1898, and what happened? So it continued to flourish, the Philippine literature. And a lot of reading materials were printed at this period. And that's why we got a lot of things that happened. Changes also. Another is the freedom of religion and even the freedom of the press. So liberal changes are really happened in this period. So the theme, the tone, and even the writer style were changed. So from religious, they become personal and satirical. And there are different organizations that were formed by the writers. And also, let me inform you that the different writings of the American writers, they brought here in our country, like the work of Edgar Allan Poe. Example of that is The Raven, The Case of Amontillado. They were being brought here by the Americans. And since Filipinos are really intelligent, so some of the writers read those reading materials and they were inspired to make their own writings, stories, novels, etc., etc. Okay. Then during 1900, English language became the official medium of instruction. And also the Thomases were the group of volunteers who became the first American teachers in our country. And it was also then when Filipino writers started writing in English aside from Filipino. So that's why class, they are really good by that time, yung mga tao noon, inabutan yung period na yan. Try to imagine, they know how to speak Tagalog, they know how to speak Spanish, and same, it adds now English, okay? So ang galing nila. Anyway, what is the best contribution of the American in our country?
Education po.
Okay, that's correct, Mr. Castillo, education. In what form or in what way it is the best? Why it becomes the best? What changes that occurred during American period? By giving education. Bakit siya ang pinakamagandang binigyan nila? What's the reason?
Kasi po, until now po, nagagamit po natin to through development po and progress po ng country po natin.
Okay, that's correct because we are using the English language, the American English language as a medium of instruction until now, class, hanggang ngayon, simula noon. And also, why it becomes that's the best thing that they gave to us, it's because during the time of the Spaniards, there are big churches. So, katabi ng pag may simbahan, may parochial school. So, when we say parochial school, it's a private school. And it's not public. But when the American came here, it established now the public school. So when we say public, it is run by the government, it's run under government, okay? Hindi gaya ng mga parochial school, ang may-ari niyan, mga pare, mga madre, okay? Pero syempre naman, iba talaga education sa private school. Di ba until now naman? Mabuti nga, dumating yung mga Americans, at least the UP, the PUP was established 1902, the UP established 1908, and even other schools, even yung PNU na ngayon, hindi pa PNU yun dati, and some other schools also. Ang RTU class, batang-bata pa, 1969 lang yan. 51 years old pa lang ang RTU. Okay. But we are also a public school. And it's good to know, of course, pag sabi mo public, it's free. Noon nga ang free lang, it's just the basic education, just the elementary and high school level. Pero ngayon, in your generation, sa panahon ni Duterte, so he decided that even collegiate level or tertiary level became free. Okay? So napakaswerte niyo talaga. Bukod sa nalibre na kayo nung elementary at high school, mga galing sa public, so even now, until college. And that's the reason why also, why a lot of students from private schools transferred to government school or public school, okay? Because it's free. And isn't it? I had seen in the news, kagabi, kine-question ng mga senator, why there are some foreign students who enrolled in SUC and they're enjoying the free education. Kaya nga dito yung mga yung klase para mag-aral, pero dapat hindi natin ilibre talaga. Kasi sayang mga slot, lalo kung ang pinag-aaralan na is medicine, sana yung mga Pilipino na lang, di ba? Because we are lacking of those kind of courses na mga mga specialty natin dapat sa mga Filipino na bibigay, hindi sa foreigner. And aside from that, dayo lang sila, no? We are the one paying for them. Kasi they are enjoying yung tax natin lahat. So class, kahit kayo nagbabayad kayo ng tax, kumain kayo sa Jollibee, di ba may VAT? So tax na yun. So kahit wag yung sabihin mo, wala pa akong trabaho, wala pa akong tax. No, it's not. Lahat ng binibili natin class, may VAT yan. So bayad tayo ng tax. Kaya nga malaki ang kita ng gobyerno because of the taxes that we are paying for. Okay? Anyway, class, I just upgraded here. I only have 2.44 minutes. Pag ako na-cut, bumalik kayo ha. Kasi i-upgrade ko lang to. Bumabalik naman kaagad. Kasi talaga hindi pa tayo nakakonect sa Zoom na na pangmatagalan. Pero the RTU themselves, they said that we could use the Zoom. Nga lang, hindi pa yata talaga nako-close yung tie-up nila. Kaya nakakat pa tayo. Okay. Pero na-upgrade naman kaagad. Sandali lang na Pag naputol ako, babalik ako kaagad. So mag-join lang uli kayo. Okay? Kasi meron pa akong tatlo pa yung di-discuss ko. Okay. Then, these are just of the significant events. Hindi ko na isa-isahin class kasi meron naman yan sa binigay ko na yun. And the last occupants or the last invader here are the Japanese. Okay? So, the freedom of the press wants a press na naman. Because, suppress I mean, because the Japanese came here. And even this, they stopped the circulation of newspaper and reading materials written in English. So what the writers did, the Philippine writers did, they momentarily turned their back in English and continued writing in Filipino and even Spanish. O, di ba galing ng mga writers natin? May choice sila. They have other choices that they will write in either Filipino or Tagalog and even Spanish. Kasi bawal nun ng English. Okay? But during the time, yung tinatawag na golden era, it was called during Japanese period kasi there were 25 golden stories that were selected and published. And these were written by some of the good writers and some of them are also national artists. May papakita rin ako sa video national artists pero sa next meeting na, hindi sa ngayon. And some of them were Narciso Reyes, Liwaywe Arceo, and NBM Gonzales. Class, makakat na ako, bumalik kayo kaagad. Sandaling-sandali na lang ako. Tutuloy ko to. Okay. Isay. Let me continue now. So we have here. So Filipino writers focused on rural life. Okay, so they don't mind at all the urban, but they are with the rural life. Okay. And some of their literary works were published in Liwayway. That's a kind of magazine class, but until now, it's still published. Meron pa rin yan, existing pa yan. And even the stage play, musical shows became popular during the Japanese period. And the most important contribution of the Japanese in our literature, it's the haiku. It's a kind of poem, a very short one, but it has a very nice meaning of it. As long as you know how to interpret it and you get it properly, the real meaning of it. Okay? So that's why the fall of Japan in 1946 can be considered as the turning point in the development of Philippine literature. Excuse me. So they were the last invaders, okay? So nung tayo na, solo na natin, wala na tayong mga invaders. So there were different award-giving bodies that were made or organized. The Palanca Memorial Award that was from 1950 up to present is still existing pa yan, class. But the Cultural Heritage and even the Graphic Magazine Literary Awards no longer existing during 1960s to 70s. The International Artists, it was started 1973 to present. It's one of the prestigious award-giving body to be given to a certain artist, okay? Whether sa literature, sa film, etc. Isa yan sa pinakagusto ng mga artista class. Diba? Kaya nga si Dolphy, he was also given that one, yung pinaka ano niya, ang tawag doon, quintas niya. Meron siya niyan. Okay, gustong-gusto yan ng mga artista, mga director, mga writers. Okay? And then, several conferences and symposia for Filipino writers were also conducted. But during the time of Marcos, the freedom of the press once again oppressed, particularly when he declared the martial law. If you're going to say something against the Marcoses, you will be imprisoned, you will be killed, or you were found nowhere. Okay? Wala na. As in, para kang bulang nawala na lang. No one knows kung saan ka napunta, sinong kumuha sa'yo. So, yun ang ano, di ba? It was yesterday, it was the anniversary of the martial law, the September 21 proclamation, where there were still a lot of victims of human rights. Until now, galit sila sa mga Marcoses. Okay? And since Imelda Marcos was the former First Lady, and who is a kind of lady who is very socialite, but very beautiful, who loves a lot of activities and even festivities. That's why they built the CCP and even the Pocket Theater. So supposedly there will be important visitors from other countries. They will bring them there to show the different activities and about the different talent of the Filipino, okay, by showing it into musical or even in cultural show that they are going to have. Okay, so yun ang yung time ni Marcos. But by the time of 1986, after the fall of Marcos, the print media and broadcast media became active and powerful mediums in liberalizing people. So that's why, di ba, nakabalik ang ABS-CBN noon. Noong time ng mga Marcoses, so nag-shutdown na ng ABS, pero after that, ibalik. Tapos panahon na Duterte, wala na naman sila. Okay? So today, according to this, the teaching of Philippine literature in tertiary schools in the country is really a requirement as stipulated in Memo number 59. And this should be taught in using the vernacular literature to know them in the different regions of the country. Kaya nga, we have to know the different writings, literary works that were made in the different regions, places, provinces. Hindi yung ang alam nyo class, alam na alam nyo sa Korean novela, alam na alam nyo yung mga kanta nila, kada nyo naintindihan, and even their arts, their culture, and even their tradition, and of course, the actors and actresses. Pero sariling ating class, hindi nyo alam. If I'm going to ask you something regarding the example of the different literary works, baka mamaya wala kang mabigay. Kung mismo taga doon ka, baka mamaya hindi mo alam na meron palang ganon. Okay? But that's the reason why we have to know this one per region itself. And what's the reason? Bakit kaya meron pa nito class? Ano sa palagay nyo? Ano pang pakinabang itong subject na to sa inyo? Kung may pakinabang man. Nakikita ko ang picture ni Jezreel Ann Masilang. Jezreel, what do you think? Why do we still have to discuss this, to know this? That this is included still in your curriculum. Ano bang pakinabang ng literature subject? Jezreel, diyan ka ba na? Miss Masilang, can you hear me? O hindi? Or anyone who would like to answer me, my question. What's the use of this subject in your course? Pag wala class, walang pakinabang, yun na, enroll, di ba? Pero bakit nga meron pa tong literature na to? Parang gusto sumagot ni Miss Ilaw. Yes,
oh my goodness, literature provides the history of the past within certain region po. Halimbawa, ma'am, kung hindi po na-invento or kung hindi po naisulat yung iba't ibang literature before, hindi po natin malalaman na yung mga tao at tumira pala sila sa kuweba, gano'n.
Okay, that's
So, I
one.
guess that's the main purpose po ng literature.
Okay? Kasi nga, di ba sabi ko, the simple meaning of literature, everything that is written. Okay? The history itself, it's written. That's why you have to know it. To know what really happened in the past and to relate it to the present lives. And of course, sabi ko nga sa inyo, you have to know the different places, region, and even the people, their culture, their tradition. Kasi baka mamaya mapunta ka sa isang lugar, hindi mo alam, wala kang idea. Anong mangyayari sa'yo doon? Like if you go to, kung ikaw ay taga Manila, first time mo pupunta sa Sagada, hindi mo alam anong mga lahing meron doon. Kasi hindi ka naman nagbasa. O kaya wala ka naman kasing literature subject by that time. Okay? Pero here, malalaman mo, ganito pala, iba-ibang tribo pala andoon. Ganito pala yung mga tao, ganito kanilang kultura, tradition nila. Okay? Because until now, class, yung mga Igot people, yung mga Ifugao people, they're still practicing yung pagkakanyaw, yung festivities sila na gano'n, yung nagtutugtog sila ng gong, tapos nagkakate ng isang baboy, tapos tinitingin nila yung atay, kung siswertihin sila sa pag-aani, sa pagtatanim, gano'n ang mga kultura nila. Until now, it's being practiced, okay? Kung makita mo yun, magtataka ka, ba't ginagawa nila yun, di ba? Pero kung nalaman mo sa either history or even a literature subject, so now you know, and you just have to respect it. Just observe and respect it, okay? So yun ang pakinabang doon. And aside from that, to know the different parts of our country. Kasi baka mamaya sabihin ko sa inyo, where's the CDO? Baka unang nasa isip mo na CDO is a brand of hot dog. It's a capital itself, isn't it? Of a certain province. That is The capital of Misamis Oriental. And that's in Region 10. Eh, baka tanungin ko ito, isa-isa kung anong region natin. Hindi ka makasagot. Okay? So that's one also of the reasons. So you have to know regarding the place about our country itself, aside from knowing the different literary works of those writers, etc., etc. So I had taken this from the book of Dr. Aquino. Okay? So let me continue with the other thing that I gave before. Tutuloy ko lang sa prose and even poetry. Tapos there's one video that I'll be giving you. I still have more than 30 minutes. Medyo passing lang gagawin ko dito, class. Hindi ko na talaga thoroughly discussed. Total, binigay ko naman na sa inyo ito eh. I'm expecting that you have read this one, but you haven't read it. I just have to discuss it, not thoroughly, but just a little. Okay. So when we say prose, that is written in sentences and paragraph form. And essay, of course, it's a short literary composition. What do we have here? One of these is the narrative or story essay. Kaya nga narrative. Narrating a story, telling a story, just that, okay? Descriptive essay. It tells or describes something, whether a person, a place, an event, or a thing, okay? Then the biographical essay or character sketch that tells regarding the person, the story of the life of a person. Pag autobiography, it's your own story of your life. Pag biography, class, it's somebody else had written the life of a certain person. And then the critical essays, it depends what particular literary work that you are criticizing, either a work of art, literature, drama, motion picture, or any other else. Okay? So, depende sa nagkikritik. Depende rin sa nanonood, just that, or sa any art. Supposedly, like for example, a certain abstract. Others, they don't really appreciate abstract because they don't really understand what it's the meaning of it. But others really appreciate it. Gustong-gusto nila. Kasi nakikita nila, it could form some of the certain figure there, and they really appreciate it. Okay? Then we also have the editorial essay that could be found in a certain newspaper or magazine. Then the reflective essay that enforces a moral or a lesson. Then for the fiction, we have prose allegory. So meron tayong fable. The characters are the animals that talk and act like human beings. So the myths, meron din tayong myths. I'll be giving an example of this in region 1. Wala tayong masyadong myths sa ating pero meron din naman kahit paano. But not to compare with the Greek mythology and even the Roman. Okay? Kasi marami doon gods and goddesses. Pero tayo, kukunti lang yung ganyan natin. Then even the legend. But the legends, we have a lot here in the Philippines. Then we have the prose romances, fairy tale. Do you have fairy tale here, class? Meron ba tayong Cinderella, Sleeping Beauty, Beauty and the Beast? May mga ganun ba? Una-una, wala tayong castle. Walang kastilyo dito sa bansa natin. But there is a particular story, particularly the Visayas region, regarding the princess or the binukot. So may papakita akong video sa inyo to know about it. But we have this one, folktales. Marami tayo niyang class. Okay. And then, we also have the prosatires, the novels, the short story, and even the novelettes. Okay? Meron tayo niya sa ating mga literary works. We have also the prose drama. Then we have, this one is the structure of a plot, the sequence of events in a certain story. Okay? So it begins, of course, with the exposition, then the rising action or the complication, the climax, that's the peak of the story, then the denouement, that's the falling action, and the resolution, that's the ending. Okay? So all the stories at its beginning. Diba sometimes nga, once upon a time, yung mga ganon. Kaya, in a faraway place, sa Tagalog, isang araw, so, maganon yung mga stories na mga nagawa noon. Then the complication, the climax, and for the ending, class, The Filipino writers really like to have a happy ending. Pag love story, yung dating nagkahiwalay na magkasintahan, nagkakatuluyan, kinakasal. Pag naman yung ba sa magkaibigan, yung dating magkaaway, nagiging magkabati. Ang mga ba nakaraan? Like in The Soldier's Heart, di ba? Actually, pinapan ko dati yun eh. Pero napag nakikita ko lang yung trailer, tapos ngayon tapos na yun. Yung dati magkaaway, naging magkaibigan na. And with the action, sa pelikula naman, yung bida, napatay na niya yung kalaban, saka pala dumarating yung mga polis, saka pala nagwawangwang, di ba? So yun ang mga ending ng mga Filipino writers. Then, for the qualities of plot, pwedeng exciting, it has also good structure, pwedeng flashback, foreshadowing, pwede rin suspense, and the surprise ending. Ano sa surprise ending? Di ba, minsan nakakinis yung, ang ganda-ganda na yung story, yung pala, ang ending, panaginip lang pala. Okay? May mga ganong story na tuwang-tuwa ka, pinapanood mo, tapos ang ending, ay, bakit ganon? Panaginip lang pala, hindi pala totoo. Okay? So, in media res. For the point of view, tatlo lang yan, class. First person, third, and even the omniscient. Pag first person, speakers part of the story and can observe characters, but read those things in reaction only of self. Kaya nga first person. For the third person, story told as one character and can observe. Narrator part of the story but cannot read any character's mind. Pero kapag omniscient, narrator, the author, knows all about this kasi siya mismo yun. Yung gumaganap doon sa story na yun. Okay? For the mood, so depende kung siya ay masaya, malungkot, intense, or whatever. For the tone, depende rin. Okay? So pagkakagawa ng writer, it's either ironic, pensive, sly, or anything else. Symbolism, all the stories, class, all the movies, and even the books, it shows their symbol to represent the story itself. Okay? Like for example, the Twilight book, that was the love story between Bella and Edward. Diba? Sa mga nakabasa noon, sa mga nakita ng libro na yon, the cover of the Twilight book is apple that being held. Sa movie kasi, yan yung sinalo ni Edward, yung apple na yan. Tapos, yun ang ginawang cover ng libro. The color of the apple there is red. Bakit kaya red? Siyempre, alam naman natin pag apple, di ba red? Pero bakit apple? Bakit hindi orange? Bakit hindi grapes? O dalandan? Dalandan? Meron ba doon? Dalandan. But why apple? What does it symbolize? Sa Bible,
Temptation po. Temptation.
Okay, temptation could be. Isn't it in the Bible? Hindi naman sabi talagang apple, but that's the forbidden fruit. And even fruit of knowledge. Pero hindi talaga sinabi apple. Pero sa atin, sabi nga yan, it's an apple. So it means forbidden. Temptation itself. Okay? Tapos bakit pula? Pag pula, di ba, it shows, it represents love. It represents also blood. Pero bakit yun ang ginawa? Because class, the reason is, it tells there that it is forbidden love between the two. Between Bella and Edward. Kasi nga, hindi sila pwedeng mag-ibigan because one is mortal, the other one is immortal. One is human being, the other one is a vampire. Okay? So, hindi pwedeng pagmamahalan nila. But again, that's one of the best film and even one of the best book that was written. Actually, class, lahat yun talaga inabangan ko, tuwan-tuwa ako sa story yun. Ganda-ganda ako sa tandem ng dalawa na yun. Pero then, di pa kasi nagkatuluyan. Okay? So to continue, we also have the images that could be perceived by our senses. Okay? The theme, everything that we are doing may theme. Kahit nga simpleng, how do you call this? Presentation for a certain program, may theme yan, di ba? Whether, for example, sa isang story, it's about family, about love, etc., etc. Okay? So I have taken this from the book of Ida Patron and Ibn Jaime Ang. So let me continue now with the poetry. Anong pagkakaiba niya sa prose? Okay, here. So when we say poetry, it is derived from the Greek word poesis, meaning making or creating. But it's really quite different from prose. Kasi ang prose, written in sentences and paragraph. But this one, for poetry, just written in per line, per stanza. Okay? And it says here that it's a kind of language that says it is more intense than ordinary language does. Kaya sabi nga ni Baritubo, poetry is a concentrated thought, which is true. It's a kind of word music, also true. Expresses all the senses. Kasi class, isang tula, hindi mo siya pwedeng basahin or maintindihan sa isang basahan lang. You have to dig it, you have to analyze it, and even appreciate it. So answers also demand for rhythm. Kasi class, di ba yung isang tula, pag nilapatan mo yan ng music, ng rhythm, it becomes song. And of course, observation plus imagination. So, ang isang story class, isang upuan mo yan, pwede mong basahin, maintindihan mo. Pero yung tula, minsan, isang beses mong basahin, parang hindi ko ano kung ano ibig niya sabihin. Ganon. Pangalawa, pangatlo. One of the good examples is yung haiku. Ang haiku class, napaka-iksi. Pero pag di mo kagad intindihan yan, mahihirapan ka. Hindi mo kagad makuha yung definition, yung meaning ng haiku na yun. Okay? So that's why in poetry, we really have to appreciate it by knowing the real meaning of a certain poem. Okay? So for the poetry, so there are different things that this is part of the element of it. So in diction, that's regarding the denotative and connotative meaning. When we say denotative, that's dictionary meaning. Pag connotative, that is a deeper meaning. Like for the figurative language, example class, yung you are the apple of my eye. Pag apple, sa dictionary meaning, just a fruit. Pero pag sa connotative meaning, it means special, okay, or the best in the person's life. Kaya nga, you are the apple of my eye. You are very special. So to continue, so the images and sense impression, it is perceived again by the senses. The figure of speech, so hindi ko na isa-isahin yung class. Then we also have the sound. It's either the tone colors, alliteration, assonance, etc. The rhythm, of course, so depende kung how it is being given, the strong and weak part of it. The meter, depende kung nasan yung stress ng certain pattern or verse of that poem. And for the rhyme scheme, it's either the formal arrangement of rhymes in a stanza of a certain point. But anyway, class, it's like this. Ang tula, or the poem itself, it's excluded in grammar. So kahit pa sabihin mong parang mali yung grammar, pero kung gusto mo yung writer, isinulat niya na magkakatunog yung last part. Tapos medyo, pagdating sa grammar, medyo mali. No, it's not. It is exempted in grammar. Hindi papakalaman yan. The song, the poem, it is exempted in grammar. Okay? So, it's for appreciation. But don't mind the grammar. So for the structure, so depende yan sa word order, whether natural or unnatural. Ellipsis, whether some of the words were omitted. The punctuation, whether it has or does not have. And the shape, so it depende yan sa idea rin ng writer. And one of the things that I asked before from my students, yung diamond na tula. Bakit diamond? Kasi yung shape talaga pa diamond pag Okay? So, it started from the topmost, tapos palawak, tapos hanggang sa liliit ulit. Could be, I could give you that one. So, pagagawin ko rin ng diamond style of poem. So, these are the different types of poetry, narrative. So, class, kahit Poetry yan, nagkikwento yan. So we have the epic. It's a long narrative poem that tells about the adventure of a certain hero. Okay? Example of that is the life of Lamang. Tapos, meron pa tayong metrical romance. Meron ding ballad. Yung ballad class, it's a short narrative intended to be sung. So, I'll be giving an example of that pag nasa region 2 tayo. Metrical tales, a story in a poetry form. Meron din popular ballad, modern artistic, and then metrical allegory. Then yung kinakanta. So, we have the lyric poetry. The ode, the elegy, the song, either secular or sacred. Pag secular, ay, nilipat ko kaagad. Pag secular, it's non-religious. Pag sacred, it's a religious song of praise to God. And then the simple lyric, it's a short poem with verses, okay? So we also have the sonnet, that could be the Italian or Shakespearean sonnet. So depende sa rhyme scheme niya, okay? Pag Shakespearean, ito ABBA. Pag Italian yon. Pag Shakespearean, CDCDEFEF, GG. Okay? So, depende yan sa sumusulat talaga. And then, dramatic poetry, meron din. It has a comedy, tragedy, farce. Talaga nakakatawa klase. Historical play, even melodrama. We also have the mass. Kaya lang ang mass class, wala dito sa atin yan. Because popular sa England during 16th century. Kasi talaga, grabe mga costume yan na ginagamit. And then, the dramatic monologue, okay? So anyway, as I told you, hindi ko na isa-isahin to. Just read it on your own. And same, the book that I use is kay Ida Patron and Jaime Ang. This time, class, so I'll show you a video regarding, I only have 20 minutes. About the Philippines itself, that shows regarding some of the places in our country.
"81 provinces, 17 regions, and countless reasons to visit, discover, and explore one country, the Philippines."
Kati-kati na ba ang iyong mga paa? Handa nang umalis, magliwaliw at lumarga. Buti na lang taga dito ka. Sing dami ng happening, ang dami ng isla. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit palalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapa ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit palalayo? Nilabatan hanggang mulo. Iba ang saya ng Pilipino. It's more fun in the Philippines. Nandito ng lahat, saan pa pupunta? Malalim ang dagat at mababaw ang ligaya. Halatang Pilipino ka. Abot langit ang iyong ngiti. Lahi ng masasaya. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit palalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapa ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit palalayo? Nilabatan It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit palalayo? Sobrang swerte kaya ng tsinelas mo. Nakatapak ka sa paraiso. It's more fun in the Philippines. Bakit palalayo? Mula Batanes hanggang Hulo, iba ang saya ng Pilipino. It's more fun in the Philippines.
Okay, so I have shown you the video itself, so to appreciate some of the places that were shown in that. So you have seen there regarding the place of one of places there is the Mount Mayon, the Mayon volcano itself in Bicol, particularly in Albay. So you have seen also some of the places like in Iloilo. So that's one of the things that we're going to know. We are going to appreciate by knowing the places, by knowing the people and the literary works, okay, of the different regions and provinces. Anyone here who is in the province right now? Meron ba? Meron ba nasa probinsya ngayon?
Yes po, ma'am.
Nasaan ka, Miss De Ocampo?
Pangasinan po.
Saan sa Pangasinan? Saan sa Pangasinan, Miss De Ocampo? Hindi na niya narinig. Who else? Who is
Bani
in the...
po.
Sa?
Bani
Saan
po.
nga? Okay. O who else? Sino pang nasa probinsya ngayon?
Ako rin po, ma'am.
Tuason.
Ako din po, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Saan ka muna, Miss Tuason?
Sa Pangasinan din po, ma'am.
Well, what about si... Ano to? Hindi ko mabasa yung pangalan mo. Cadillaga? Maliit. Saan ka? Nasaan ka, ano? Mr.
Hindi lang po.
Ha? Sid. Nasaan ka ngayon?
Aurora po.
Oh,
Aurora po.
Province. Okay. Kayo ba umuwi bago ma-lockdown o after ng lockdown?
Bago po nag-lockdown, umuwi na po kami dito sa...
Okay. What about si Miss Tuason? Saka si De Ocampo?
Before din po ng lockdown, ma'am, nakauwi na po.
Parang alam niyo talaga magla-lockdown na.
na.
Parang alam niyo magla-lockdown na nagsiuwian na kayo kaagad ha. Ako nga, di ako nakauwi ng Antipolo eh. Before mag-lockdown, nagplano ako pero kailangan pa ako pumunta ng school kaya hindi ako natuloy. Tapos nabutan ako ng lockdown. Wala na. Kaya I just stuck here in Mandaluyong. Okay? But anyway, I'll ask you if you are in the province or if you are whatever you are, okay, it's like this. Sabi ko nga before, pagka ganitong subject ko, I want to know who are from these places, from this region, from this provinces. Kasi mas alam nila yung lugar nila eh. So in order for me to know it, so I will be asking my students to discuss about the place where they been part of. Pero sa ngayon, since pandemic tayo, I will not be asking from you anything regarding reporting about your province, okay? Because first, hindi ko alam kung lahat ay may data, kung mayroong wifi, kung maganda ang bandwidth, or kung andito lahat sa Manila. Kaya nga, mayroong mga nasa provinces eh. Like one of my students in the morning, she is in North Cotabato. Yung isa naman nasa Cebu, yung isa naman nasa Samar, okay? So may mga nasa sa probinsya. So mahirap na, baka mamaya eh, hindi talaga makakope up with the thing that I'll be asking from them. So that's why, yun lang ang gagawin natin. I'll be giving the topics. You have to read. You have to analyze. Kaya ako to diniscuss ngayon, hindi ko alam kung lahat ay binasa o binasa man, naintindihan ba? Okay? Pero kung di nyo maintindihan, class, balikan nyo na lang. Kasi andyan naman yan eh. Given naman na yan eh. And let me always tell this, hindi na ako mag-remind lagi class na may attendance sa ating, ang tawag dito, sa Google Classroom. Basta automatic yan. Every meeting that we have, you'll be having the attendance. Hindi ko na i-remind palagi yan. Tapos, every time that you are here, kung kayo naka-online kayo na in our Zoom meeting, or kung mag-Google Meet man ako, so I want to see also ang mga mukha nyo. Okay? Just that. Kaya kung hindi na kayo naka-on, nakita ko na, present kayo. Pero mas maganda kung naka-on, lalo pag ako'y nag-print screen ng mga mukha. Kasi baka mamaya tulog na eh. Okay? Pero kung talagang walang data, kasi free lang ng data nila, minsan nahihirapan mag saka yung iba nagtitipid. Kaya nung off ang video, para medyo matipid sa data. Class, mapuputol na ako after 2.4 minutes, okay? But that's the thing that I'm telling you. And also, let me remind, hindi ako magsasabi kung kailan ng quiz. Okay? So, pag may pinost ako, basahin nyo. Pag hindi nyo nasagutan ng tama yung quiz, mababa yung score nyo, it means hindi ka nagbasa. Napakadali lang, class. Again, I'm telling you, output ang titingnan ko dito. Lahat naman ng quiz ang bibigay ko, may sagot na kaagad eh. May choices na eh. Pero first, hindi na ka mag-check. Second, you will know easily your score. But let me remind, please, yung inyong quiz, pag sinabi kong sagot, pag nakita niyo yung sagutan niyo na, yan pa abutin ng 2 araw. Wala na yun. Okay? May limit lang. At pag nagpa-attendance naman ako, kasi minsan ginagawa ko, lalo kung ang klase ko bukas ay 7:30. Gabi pala, hinahanda ko na attendance. Pero mag-attendance kayo, wag sa gabi. So umaga. Kung klase natin na yung hapon, huwag naman kayo mag-attendance ng napakaaga. Kumbaga, itapat nyo rin sa oras natin. Kasi nakikita ko naman doon, anong oras kayo nag-in, anong oras kayo nyo binasa yun. Nakikita ko doon pag nagsagot kayo. Baka naman kinabukasan pa kayo magsasagot. Iba ng istorya na yon. Hindi kayo present noong time na dapat i-present kayo. So, 2 times ako nag-check ng attendance. One is here, the other one is in the Google Classroom. Okay? So, lahat ng ipapapasa ko, hihingiin ko, papasagutan ko, sagutan nyo lang. And after with the output, wala akong hihingiin sa inyo kundi yung output lang, plus the 2 major exams and even the attendance that we have to have every meeting. And of course, yung project na individual that will be given before the final period. Maano na ako, malapit na ako ma-out kasi less than 1 minute. So nice meeting you all. So just enjoy your staying here in our Zoom meeting. So every time, check nyo ang GC, check nyo rin ang Google Classroom. So thank you and goodbye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye
Thank
po.
you po, ma'am. Goodbye.
Thank you po, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Thank you po.
Ma'am.